Anyway, like I was saying, shrimp is the fruit of the sea. You can barbecue it, boil it, broil it, bake it, saute it. There's shrimp kebabs, shrimp creole, shrimp gumbo, pan fried, deep fried, stir fried.
Clearly, there are a lot of ways to prepare shrimp, and many of them do just fine on a 30-minute car ride home from a restaurant. Why do I mention that? Well, these days, we're all getting a little more takeout and delivery than we were maybe a year ago. If there's one shrimp dish that is decidedly not better after 30 minutes in the backseat of a car, it's a po' boy. Where once you had warm, crisp shrimp, cool iceberg lettuce, and tangy remoulade, you now have a kind of homogeneous mixture of all of those things stuck between two formerly toasty pieces of bread. No, if we're going to have a po' boy proper, we'll have to make it at home. So today, we'll do just that, and in something that's becoming kind of a theme around this channel, we'll serve it up with a delectable potato side dish that'll knock your socks off, if you're even wearing them at home to begin with. Alright, so we're going to start off with our potato side, what I like to call thick chips. They're basically just round oven fries, but you're going to cut russet potatoes into about 1/3 inch thick slices. Getting them even is important. You can use a knife or a mandolin, whichever you prefer. And then once you've got them cut, get them into a bowl. I'm using 2 potatoes. I'm putting in about 1/4 cup of olive oil and a very heavy seasoning with Cajun seasoning. You could just use salt and pepper if you don't like any spice at all. Potatoes can take a lot of seasoning, so really don't hold back. And the only other thing I'm adding is some turmeric. This gives them a very vibrant yellow golden color once they're done cooking. Mix that thoroughly so that the oil and spice mixture covers all of the potatoes, and then get them out into a single layer on a baking tray. You may need to use 2. Pour over any remaining oil and get those into a 425-degree oven. Now, they're going to go in there for about 15 minutes, which gives us just enough time to make our remoulade. So, got 1 1/4 cups of mayonnaise. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of smoked paprika, teaspoon or 2 of Cajun seasoning, some whole grain stone ground mustard, about 1/4 cup of that, a couple dashes of hot sauce, maybe about a teaspoon of that, about a tablespoon of prepared horseradish, and I want to add that you could vary these ingredients and how much of each one you're using to your own taste levels. I'm going to add in a couple teaspoons of capers and their brine, and finally I'm going to finely mince up a couple of dill pickles, add those in, and then stir everything together to combine. That can go in the fridge and rest for as long as you need it to. Now after their first 15-minute bake, our potatoes will already be frying beautifully. We need to go ahead and give them their first flip. So flip them all over and then put them back in for another 15 minutes. That gives us time to prepare our shrimp. I have 1 pound of medium shrimp here. I'm going to cover with buttermilk and about a 1/4 cup of hot sauce. Again, that's optional. Go ahead and stir everything together to combine and let those kind of marinate in that buttermilk for 15 or 20 minutes, or longer if you need to. To make our dredge, I'm adding 1 cup of cornmeal to a bowl, maybe a little more there, and an equal part all-purpose flour, so another cup of flour. A generous seasoning with Cajun seasoning, yep, I know that's kind of a theme today, and stir all that until it is very thoroughly combined. Time for our flip on our potatoes. They've been in for 30 minutes. They're going to go for another 30 minutes. So that gives us time to get our other accoutrement ready. I'm thinly slicing 1 Roma tomato and finally shredding some good old crisp, cool iceberg lettuce. You want it to be pretty finely shredded so that it doesn't fall out of the sandwich too easily. That's perfect. The only other component we need here is our bread. We want to get kind of a French loaf that's relatively soft, springs back nicely, and isn't too crispy or crunchy on the outside. Go ahead and bisect it down the middle, being careful to leave a little bit of a spine on the edge so that you can still open it up like a book. Alright, it's shrimp cooking time. So, grab a handful of your shrimp out of the buttermilk, get them into your dredge, shake the bowl gently to cover the shrimp, and then get in there with your hands and just finish coating them as needed. From here, these are going to go into a pot or a pan of oil. I'm doing a shallow fry here. This is around 350 to 375 degrees. Give them about 3 minutes on the first side, flip them gently, give them another 3 minutes, and then get them out onto a wire rack to drain. Once that's done, just repeat as needed with the rest of your shrimp. Took me 3 different batches. And while you're doing this, the potatoes are finishing up in the oven, and you should be cleaning up as you go. Nothing worse than cooking up a delicious dinner or lunch and then seeing a mountain of dirty dishes to clean just as soon as you finish eating everything. So my tip of the day, clean as you go. You'll thank yourself later. All right, 30 minutes have elapsed. Our thick chips are nice and crispy, but still soft on the middle. I'm gonna toss them in a bowl with a little bit of parsley, mostly just for garnish and color. Give those a toss, and it's time to build us a po' boy. We're gonna put down a layer of our thinly sliced tomatoes on the bottom. A nice generous handful of our iceberg lettuce goes on top of them. Make sure to try and spread it out as evenly as possible. And we're gonna pack on as many of these beautiful crispy little shrimps as we can, and give a nice drizzle of our remoulade down over the top. Don't be cheap with it. It's an important flavor note in the sandwich. Once that's done, I'm gonna hit it with a little parsley, just to keep things in shape and make that green color pop. And we're ready to eat. It may be called a po' boy, but looking at this right now, I feel a lot closer to a king than a pauper. I'm gonna go in for these thick chips first. Try it on its own. Somebody said every time I eat something I say and it is kind of an automatic reaction when something tastes this freaking good. Sure, it takes about an hour in the oven, but that gives you all the time you need to make everything else here, including this remoulade, which these thick chips serve as a perfect vehicle for. All right, there's one bad thing about this sandwich. It's a little messy, so I'm going in. Shrimp overboard. Well, I hope you will give this recipe a shot. Those shrimp are so succulent. The cornmeal in our breading helps to give them a nice crunch, which I'm sure you could hear. The bread is soft and warm. The iceberg lettuce, it's just kind of a textural thing. And all the flavors really work great together. Using that Cajun seasoning in almost every element of the dish just ties everything together. Po or not, I hope you go out and get everything you need to make this boy this week. Thanks so much for watching. Drop a like and give us a subscription if you've not already done so. We'll see you next week. Until then, go make something delicious.